And truly, it's very difficult to say what I'd like to say. So I don't know if it's going to come out, but something will come out. Something that I was thinking about, I'm going to start to cry. During the pilgrimage, which is a moment of much grace, and I think the pilgrims who are here, raise your hand. Thank you. Thank you, the handkerchief. And truly, I at least know that there was a very powerful and singular grace, which I still haven't been able to put a name to it. It was so serene, so deep, and so difficult to locate within the human language. But one of the things that throughout the entire pilgrimage, moments that we lived in the Holy Mass, in the holy places, the reflections, moments of silence, so many beautiful graces that the Lord gave us. There was a word that always came to my heart. How little we understand the mystery of the Incarnation. And truly, I say it and I want to cry because we are here celebrating precisely, we are gathered, beginning the novena of Christmas, preparing these 9 days in our hearts, but we've been, as 4 weeks as a church, preparing ourselves to contemplate the mystery of love of God, who sent his only begotten Son as one of us, to become man to save us. And perhaps we repeat it and we repeat it and we hear it, and every year we celebrate Christmas. But I don't know if being there in front of the Star of Bethlehem that we touched so much, we touched it, we kissed it, to think that there, the God-made man was lying there. And the same thing happened every time we touched every rock and place of crucifixion, where he was crucified and crucified for our salvation. And every moment that we lived, it was simply the journey that our Lord traversed here on earth. And for me, Bethlehem will always be a fundamental place, not only because our Lord is born there, but that's where it begins. The great revolution, what I consider the great revolution of love, begins there. Nothing of the Incarnation looks like the world. Nothing can compare to the world. That's why the Lord said, my kingdom is not of this world. And he began to manifest it not with words, but with gestures in his birth. The King of the world, who's born in a manger, the King of the world, the Word made flesh, born in silence, the Creator of all things, that doesn't even have a place where to be born. Everything is a contraposition to the greatness and the powers of the world. I sense profoundly that these 9 days, let us take the time to allow ourselves to be questioned personally, to be questioned that if the Incarnation has truly changed my life, if truly my logic is not the logic of the world, is the logic of the kingdom, if truly my love is not simply a human love, but a love transformed by the power of divine love, if truly my values have been completely shaken up, and what I valued before when I gave importance today, it's not important. Today, other things are more important. If the time that I use for something today, I'm not interested in using it for that, but to use it for things that are more permanent. Things that will leave a good not only for my soul, but will leave a good for humanity. And truly, the Lord, I think, questioned us very delicately, serenely, but touched us deeply. and presented to us characters that perhaps we didn't think much about them, but if we understand, if we think about it, we understand that they were the first ones that the incarnation of the Lord would transform them, prepare them to be able to contemplate the face of Christ. And let us not forget, please, that there is no Advent without the Blessed Virgin Mary. She is the mother of Advent. She's the one that opens Advent. She's the one that's the star of all Advent. As St. John Paul II said, every Advent acquires its sense if we look at her. If we understand from her to walk Advent. I was saying in the radio that liturgically it's 4 weeks, but in reality Advent is 9 months. We should spend from March 25th to December 25th in Advent. That is to spend all of our life in waiting, a joyful waiting, a waiting, preparing ourselves, not a passive one, but an active one of the manifestation of God in our lives. And brothers and sisters, to contemplate the child Jesus in Bethlehem stable, if that doesn't change us, nothing will change us. I always say there's 2 things that if they don't change us, then nothing will change us. To see the child Jesus in the manger and to see Christ on the cross. If those 2 moments, his beginning and his end, does not transform us, does not transform our heart, then nothing will transform our heart, because miracles don't transform our heart. Miracles make us rejoice in the heart, but they don't convert us. It's the moments where love is tested, where love has passed its greatest trial. A God who becomes a babe, dependent of a mother, born of a woman, under the care of a virginal father, a God who makes himself so vulnerable that they not only want to kill him at the beginning of his life, but he dies on a cross. The love of Jesus was tested. The love of the God made man in his humanity was very tried. And love is only made mature when it's tested. And the culmination was in Gethsemane, when he gave his permanent choice for which he came to the cross. Someone was telling me, I'm ready in my heart is ready. Well, prepare yourself, because then the scourgings are coming. Because that's what Jesus said before being scourged. But brothers and sisters, what I sense is we can't continue being Christians by name, even Christians of activities. I think the moment has come that the Lord needs Christians of authentic life, that it may truly change our hearts, change our lives, our mind, our way of thinking. Who would have said that Jesus would be born in a stable, in a place with animals, and instead of the temple, as Father was saying, it wasn't the temple of Jerusalem, the house where all nations gathered to pray, but it was a stable. The prophecy was fulfilled, but not where the world expected. And that's how we see the Lord acting in our lives. Everything will be fulfilled, but not like we expected. And for that, we need a true change of heart, of mind, of logic. Our logic is too human. It's not bad, but it's too human. And we need to allow the Lord to teach us to think like He thinks, to value things that He values, that the gospel may truly form us, inform us, and if we truly enter into the Word made flesh, which is the gospel, the Eucharist, we cannot be the same. And that's why I want to invite you that those who haven't done so on December 25th, do the enthronement of the word in your homes. If you don't have the little book in the bookstore, look for it in our web pages in English and Spanish, the enthronement of the word, and do so as a family, because, brothers and sisters, if we don't live in the word of the Lord, how will we know it? How will we know the true Christ if truly we haven't entered from the heart in the gospel? And it's not that we read it, but that we ponder, reflect every word of the gospel. And the only thing I want to tell you is that I desire that this Christmas may be like the shepherds, be simple of heart, that the angels appear and they go out. They don't ask so many things to the angels. They don't say, explain to us. No. They go out to look for that child that's in, and they prostrate themselves before him. And there, how do they come out? Praising and glorifying the Lord. But that we may be like the wise men too. That perhaps we think we're intelligent, but we're not really. Well, that we may be like them, that they were seeking the truth. They were seeking God. And before arriving before the child, those king prostrate themselves and give him the best of what they have. And the Gentiles as the Jews in the stable, they become one people. The child Jesus came to bring peace. I also want to help you think about this. I don't know if you go out to the streets, and I went yesterday and I said, what there is less in the world is peace. And in the name that we're in Christmas, people are fighting. They fight over a parking spot. Perhaps they fight in the line in the stores. I don't know, because I haven't gone. So who is Jesus for us? And that's why he always had this question, who do you say that I am? Who am I? Because if the Lord would enter a store, would he recognize that we are celebrating his birth? Would he recognize that when he is born, the world should have become a night of peace, a night of tranquility? How much aggressiveness, how much lack of peace, aggressivity, anxiousness. The entire world needs Christ, but not my Christ, the true Christ, the one born in the manger. That this may be a time of evangelization. Either the Lord shakes up the world, revolutionizes the world with love, or the world will revolutionize with a lack of peace, lack of fraternity. We have here two choices. We raise up the child Jesus, or simply the world will take possession of all hearts, and we will lose the true meaning of Christmas, which is a God who loves us so much has become one of us to live in our midst. Christmas is good news. The worst we can have is to have a long face of bad news. We have to have good news, and we have to tell. And it's not only the reason for the season, but it's the reason for our joy and our lives. It's time to change our lives. Time for profound conversion, which only comes by prostrating ourselves in Bethlehem and contemplate what God is capable of doing for us. Merry Christmas, and let us ask Father to bless from here the